Thank you. Yes, Internet of Things. It's an interesting topic. Okay, so I'm going to talk about tech evolution or digital transformation. I want to put this photo up. So this is a Mighty 3265. So it's a two-cylinder, simple, non-condensing, coal-fired, superheated, Team Ford 60, construction in England in 1902. Talk about trains, right? So now, what I'm really here to talk to you about technology. As much as I'd love to talk about my love of photography and particularly these types of machines, I'm referencing this because during the Industrial Revolution, steam was one of the key technologies. As a matter of fact, it was the icon of the Industrial Revolution. But in fact, it was actually very lowly adopted during that time. So only large industrial machines and large industries could actually adopt the technology. It didn't actually filter through into smaller businesses and farming. Farming was probably one of the first things to actually take up in tech. So why am I referencing this? We're currently, according to commentators, we're in this thing, the fourth industrial revolution. What is that? Digital transformation, digital revolution. What is it? It's a little bit confusing, but what I'm trying to point out is that the technology that you might think is available only to large corporates, like banks and financial institutions and stuff like that, is actually available to any of you now with a credit card. That's all it takes, right? So if you have a credit card, a creative idea, and a knowledge to try something, you can actually implement some of these really cool tech that big businesses are using. And what Rich and Patty were talking about trying to learn about what your data is, those tools are available to you now relatively easily. So it's just a matter of working with a partner and trying to figure that out. So I guess that leads on to choice. Now you have choice. You don't have to be stuck with a piece of technology that you've invested maybe thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, right? Now you have a choice to chop and change and look at things. Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, Google, they all have these tools and they're all relatively available. So who uses Office 365 here? Google Docs. Who still runs email in house? It's all right, I wanted you to put your hand up. For the users of Office 365, who uses more than just email? So who looks at what's available on that platform? Things like Teams. Teams is a fantastic tool for instant communication. It tries to drop that email flow down within your business to get that. Even if you've got a small team, it's very advantage. Also with whose teams, I guess a lot of you now are working from home, or your staff are working from home, or you're collaborating with other people working from home. So how do you stay in touch? That's beyond email, right? So there's things like that to have to think about. It's also a useful platform to stay in touch with your customer, right? So around video conferencing and things like that. So while you might be thinking about how do I do that, you might have the actual tool right under your nose. It's one of my common things that I find when I'm talking to businesses. They don't realise the power of some of the platforms that they use. So it's a matter of actually thinking about that. How do I use that piece of technology and how do I make it work in my business? If you're on some of the higher plans, to Katie's point about booking systems, Microsoft actually has a booking platform. I don't think a lot of people actually knew about that. So for maybe a small increase in your monthly fee, you could potentially get access to that, put a simple link up on your website, and be able to enable booking for your customers, whether you're a restaurant or a winery or any of these other sort of things. It's a great way to get started if you're not on a booking platform system right now. And I guess that is actually one of the things that, how do you, those systems, actually thank you to BizHQ the other night, I actually didn't realise how many booking platforms there were available. Maybe might be a challenge for people, like which one do I work with. But I think booking systems are probably something I've certainly seen from a tourism perspective is probably one of the most underutilised and most frustrating experiences that I personally have. Most, we've been starting to travel quite a fair bit. And most, when you go to a website or you go to a Facebook page for a business, it's call this number, right? That's not really what I want to do. Actually, I want to book and I want to book now. And I think, Katie emphasised that if you don't have that system, that person's going to potentially move on. I would be one of those people, right? So I would move on from that solution. The other thing a booking system might be able to enable you to do is to create more experiences for your customer, right? So if you're a winery and you know, and you're getting, for example, maybe you get a lot of customers that like golf, why can't you work with the local golf course and build a booking, build a link into their booking system so your customer can book a game of golf? Or maybe there's a restaurant that you work closely with, or maybe there's a brewery somewhere that you might be able to come book some experiences with. So have a think about when you're doing that, how you might use that booking system to collaborate with other systems, right? So, and this is where one of the things that I think has been spoken about a few times is why social media is great. That is not your website, right? It's not your website. You have to build a property, you have to build a brand, and it is to the point of like what Rich was saying about branding and stuff like that around your social media and all that. It's got to drive back to your website. The website's got to be the place that you pull people back to your home. Using systems that might be within Facebook, like event systems and stuff like that, is to me is a little, sort of dangerous, because you never know what Facebook's going to do. You never know what they're trying to charge you for. What you might be getting for free today might be billable tomorrow, and all of a sudden that model for you is actually gone out the window. So I'm a big agreement on that. It's always very important to get back to your website. It's worth investing in, right? So because it is almost like a staff member if you run it properly, right? It can do lots and lots of stuff for you, lots and lots of automation. So it's a very cool thing. So we'll get rid of it. So we're in this very unique time of choose your own venture. This is not just for you, but also for your customers in the event in the case of tourism. But for you, we are at this very unique time where technology that's typically seen to be very inhibited or not accessible or anything like that is, like I said, with a credit card, is actually available to you right now. So they're the things to have to think about. The other thing I'd say to you is partner with someone, find a technology partner that's great, find a technology partner that's willing to explore these ideas with you, right? Because it's very important. You can't always do this stuff on your own, and that is definitely acknowledged. I think a lot of business owners don't own the technology within their company and the capability of technology, so I think that's very, very important to do. So if you're a business owner, start to learn about tech, look at what your competitors do, look what overseas people are doing, right, and try and understand that. So, and then how you can adapt that. Like I said, the technology is not always inhibited from a cost perspective. A lot of these tools now are, just James, like I said, the audience, a lot of Amazon has a lot of really cools, which is freely accessible for a period of time for you to test. So your cost to test or try something is actually very low, particularly where you want to get through and look at what, when we're talking about data and understanding your customer. A lot of those tools actually don't cost a lot of money, right? And the output that you can get and the understanding of your customer and the buying, power of your customer can be made, very easily available to you as a business. So that's kind of it. I said I'd get us all back on time. So you need to get hold of me. I'm looking forward to the Q&A because that's much more my better format. So thanks, I'll hand back. Cheers.
Thank you.